Yeah, man. Let's roll.
Hey, what's up, Bob Mortgage Nation? This is Bob Johnson. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're live everywhere. You guys know the routine. We are now joined by Scott Knabe with Knabe Home Team with Compass Real Estate there in Tennessee. Scott, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me. That intro is amazing. You and I just hanging out in the clouds, just casual.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's Brandon did a pretty amazing job,
Yeah,
making us making us look pretty powerful and pretty
right.
good, right? I
Can we
think that's the
Photoshop?
greatest graphic design guy I got.
Yeah, can we Photoshop some hair for me in post, or we'll get that in post? Yeah,
I don't know, man. The hair's looking pretty good on you
yeah.
today.
I did it for you. So
Oh, I was talking about. I thought you were trimmed up. Brandon goes, hey, I got a date, man. I got to go get trimmed up. So yeah,
yeah,
I see what that's like.
yeah.
I've been growing my beard for like 25 years.
It's
You
looking
know,
good. It's looking
yeah.
good.
Can you even see it?
Yeah.
It's pretty small, man.
Well,
I'm
thanks so
so
much for having me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you jumping on, and I got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about, it's real estate, but a lot of other things as well. And my audience knows a lot about what we do and how we do things here with Bob Mortgage. But this is obviously going to be going out to my audience as well as your audience. So for those that don't know Scott, tell them a little bit about you, your Knabe Home Team
Yeah.
um, team there, and just kind of what you're doing and where you serve that marketplace, and we'll kind of kick it off that way.
Yeah. So let's see. I started in real estate about 4 years ago and created Knabe Home Team under Compass, and I've got about 4 or 5 individuals that I work with that I just love working with. Um, and my primary is probably Davidson County. We do a lot in Davidson, Williamson County, Franklin, East Nashville, West Nashville. I live in West Nashville, so it's kind of my baby over here. But yeah, we kind of serve within about a 30 to 45 mile radius of downtown Nashville. So that's kind of my niche. And, obviously this city is growing like crazy, as you know, and it's just been a great market to work in. And so, yeah, that's kind of my niche here.
Yeah, Brandon, why don't you go ahead and throw up the contact details for Scott? So phone number, email, just so everybody can get in touch with him, and be able to get in touch with Scott so he can serve the community there. Okay, so man, first off, I got to tell you, I love your background because it's a whole heck of a lot better than mine. I don't know. I mean, that's pretty tight, Brandon. We got to do a little bit of work on our background here. I see a nice little painting on this side, but I'm a little. I got some white stuff over there that we need to fill in.
Yeah.
You're pretty tight there, man. That looks good.
Yeah. We had a great designer, Lori Paranjape, designed the inside of our house, and I would highly recommend her. But yeah, I couldn't have thought all this stuff out, but she did a great job.
Yeah. So obviously you see what I thought out, so it didn't work out too well. We're getting there, man. It's just the best thing I got to do is work in my office here.
Yeah.
So you started this 4 years ago with real estate, right? This is when you launched your team in real estate business, but obviously you've been doing a lot of other stuff prior to that. So give me a little bit of background on kind of what you did and what led you to get into the real estate market.
Yeah. So it's kind of a crazy, to get me here is kind of a crazy thing, but I was a baseball player in college. And graduated in 2003 from Malone University in Canton, Ohio. And my brother was the lead singer of a rock band. And so my dreams were, so this world's colliding. It's kind of crazy. But so I thought I was going to either play baseball or work for ESPN to talk about baseball. And that was what I was going to do. And my brother called me one day and said, I want you to manage me. Because we were talking to record labels, all this stuff. He said, it's a crazy world and I don't trust anybody. And obviously I've known you since birth. And so we took the leap in July of 2003. So I graduated in June. We moved in July to Nashville because Cleveland, Ohio wasn't quite the music scene that
Yep.
So we moved down here and we were, sleeping on couches. It's crazy, but ended up getting a record deal, touring, the nation with him, and got into artist management through that. I mean, I owe a lot to him for leading me in that way. So it was pretty awesome working with your brother too. So that band ended up fizzling out, and I kept managing. And so I was tour managing, road managing. Got to work with John Hyatt for in 2008, and worked with him till I stopped touring. But I was on the road about 200 days a year.
Yeah.
With him. And so literally my wife and I got married, we went on our honeymoon, and then I was gone for 2 months. And so the life of obviously pre-COVID touring was insane, which with your buddy Jordan.
Jordan and my brother, they've both been in that industry for a long time, and they have those same stories.
Yeah. And so to rewind a little bit, when I was making zero money in the music business, I was living in the Gulch in Nashville, and I was renting with my best friend Brandon, and we paid $1 a square foot for a 631 square foot apartment. and you laugh, but that was tough to pay. So he slept on the couch, I had a bedroom, and it was literally, we each paid $300 a month, and we didn't have that money most of the time. So, but they started a development in the Gulch, and it was called the Icon, about 2 years away from being built. And I went into the sales office, and I said, "What are you guys doing?" And met one of the guys that became one of my mentors, Scott Evans. And he said, "We've got an opportunity to get you on a list to buy a condo, and it's $139,000, and there's a 100-person waiting list, but I'll put you on the list above them if you can bring me $4,000 tomorrow." And I had literally, I think my bank account had about $35. So what do we do when that happens? We call our parents and we say, "Hey, I want to buy this house. It's 2 years away. I know I can't afford it now, but can you float me?" So my dad wrote me a check for $4,000.
Okay.
So I got in 2008. So it was right when the market crashed. And everybody's like, "You're crazy. You're buying in the Gulch. That's not a great investment," all this stuff. And got in at $139,000.
All right.
So ended up selling that 5 years later for $250,000.
Yep.
But now the Gulch is blown up, which I think we met in the Gulch. But that was my first kind of introduction to real estate, and realizing, wow, this is really like all the people that I know, that my mentors, Ken Levitan at Vector Management, all of my mentors did really well in music, but they did really well in real estate. And real estate was building wealth, and their job was, paying the bills.
Right.
So even when I was not, making any money, I realized real estate is very interesting. So when I was on tour with John, he and I were in a bus, and he kind of would sleep in. So I got my real estate license. When the bus would park, I'd get up at 7 or 8 in the morning and go to a Starbucks and study, my 90-hour test.
And so getting up at 7 or 8 in the morning on the road that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, because we can laugh now. I didn't want him to know that I was doing it, so I had to do it before he got up. He was totally encouraging to it. But so I got my license, honestly, because my wife and we started, buying some Airbnbs and some rental properties, and I was just looking at this 3%, 6%, and I was like, man, I could maybe make it, an extra $20,000 a year or something. And so, and my wife was the one that encouraged me, "Scott, you've learned a lot. You've done a lot of these. Why don't you take what you've learned and bring it to other clients?" And I didn't think about doing that. I thought, I'm going to stay in the management stuff and do that for the rest of my life. But once I did, I realized this is really my true calling, and this is what I want to do as a career. And so I let John know, we adopted our son 3 years ago. He'll be 3 this month. And I just didn't want to be the absent, FaceTime dad. I wanted to be at ball games. I wanted to be my own boss, make my own schedule. And it's been a blessing to be able to do that. So that's kind of how I got to this spot, through traveling, touring, and all that stuff, and just realizing that this is what I wanted to do.
Man, I absolutely love I love that story because there's some similarities in this. I mean, you couldn't afford a $631 payment, dollar square foot there in the Gulch, and I was kind of the same way, man. My first house we bought, 25 years ago, and it was a little $60,000 house, and I think that payment at the time, because where interest rates were probably going to be somewhere between 580 and $600, and I couldn't even afford
Yeah.
that. And the whole thing about the money that you needed, the $4,000 to get into that condo, we were the same place. We're getting married, and we had no money, and we wanted to buy a house, and literally like had maybe $600 or $1,000 in our account, and we just knew we wanted to buy a house so bad that we went to her grandparents and said, "Look, I know you said you were going to pay for the wedding. How about we scrap the wedding? We'll elope
So
if you
smart.
just give us the money for the down payment."
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how that worked. And you obviously have built a very nice life. You have a great team. Your wife was a big part of saying, go do this. And,
Yeah.
real estate has done some of the same things for me. It's provided me the opportunity to take that one house, sell it a couple of years later for, you know, bought it for 60, sell it for 180 type deal, and then
Right.
use that to go do more things. But my wife was a big part of saying, you need to go do this, right? We need to go
Right.
buy this house and remodel it and sell it, and buy this house and remodel it and sell it. So we kind of went down that same path. So love that. Love
Yeah.
that you turned kind of like I wouldn't say a hobby, but something that you were kind of dabbling in real estate to then jump into it full time. Now you do this
Yeah.
full time, and you're helping other people do the same thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the greatest things. And actually, since COVID, I haven't been able to be at closings, which is awful because that's like the most exciting time. But I have had sat across from my clients that maybe I told them to buy something, and maybe they're making a few $100,000 or something on the sale, and I've had clients cry like in so like appreciation, like you prompted me to do this, and this is getting us debt free on our other house or something like that. And it really is amazing, like what real estate what it can do for you. And I mean, honestly, back in the days when we were paying 631 a month, I didn't have a lot of stresses in my life. I got to be honest. It was,
Yeah.
but it's so funny when you look back. But yeah, it's been amazing to go on the journey with folks to either find investment properties or first time home buyers, or their dream homes, and be in that environment. It's been really encouraging to kind of exactly what you said, kind of use my experience to help others. And now that we're building houses too, and I partner with a GC, and we're going to build 5 houses in the next year and a half.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, and so it's been a lot of fun doing that, and I love being on the front end with the architect and all that stuff. So that's kind of not a side business. I always like sell them and find the lots, but it's just another arm that we're involved with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great arm to have. Obviously, with inventory as tight as it is, I mean, we're seeing it all across the nation. I know,
Yeah,
obviously, in Tennessee, it's their plus, right? I mean, you're probably at less than 1% inventory right now on the
it's
market.
crazy. It's actually sad. I've got like 12 amazing buyers that are pre-qualified,
Hmm.
and we are going, and it's like going on a date knowing you're going to get dumped. Like it's just
Yeah.
when you're trying to get in these bidding wars and stuff like that. And
Yeah, I
I
mean,
know
I'm
your
sure
market.
you're. Yeah, I mean, I know you, and this is what we do. We just have to continue to remind them of their why they're wanting to purchase in the first place, and talking to them about patience and just really educating them on the marketplace, and not getting back to that or getting back to that emotional conversation, and saying, look,
Right,
don't let necessarily emotions get into this. Stay true to what the why is, and then
right. Say the
look at the
course.
financials. Yeah, stay the course, and eventually the right one's going to pop up, right? And
Right.
and that's the one you need to be ready to jump on. Don't hesitate. When the right one pops up, jump on it,
Get on it.
and go quick, right? Time kills deals, speed wins. So
Yeah,
go quick.
yeah,
Yeah, but
exactly.
that home building piece is nice, because now you're creating inventory where
Correct.
there is less of it available.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what we thought is, if we can continue that, that's a great side business. And we're trying not to sell them until they're done, but we've failed miserably on all of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody's just like, oh my gosh, I want that
I want this.
property. Yeah, I'm not gonna let it get built and then worry about it being
Bidding
gone
war.
before. Yeah, bidding war, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I love what you said about, just what it means to you when you see that seller or that buyer realize something that they wouldn't maybe not have ever realized without coming in contact with you.
Yeah.
That's the same thing I feel a lot when we talk to buyers and sellers about their decision to buy and what does it truly mean and how does it impact their net worth,
Right.
right? Because I mean it is the single largest financial transaction they're going to make in their lifetime, so I have to play debt manager, right? How do we allow them to go into debt, which I don't like it, but we have to manage that debt and ensure that they're paying the least amount of interest in MI over the period of time that they're going to keep the house.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, it's showing them, okay, in a normal appreciation market, what is that home going to go to in net worth, right? How's that going to increase your net worth? And explaining the difference, because especially in a first-time home buyer, they don't understand impact of how two sides of it that you don't get as a renter, right? You don't get
Right.
any appreciation and you don't get any debt pay down. You just basically pay 100% interest to the landlord.
Right.
So in the event, in this scenario, you're getting the appreciation as that market goes up, your home prices go up, and then as you're paying your monthly payment, a portion of that balance goes towards the interest, and a portion goes towards to pay down the principal balance, and
Right.
that delta is your net worth increase.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned, have you done the ninja courses? Ninjas, I'm sure you have.
No, I haven't.
So
I
ninja
haven't.
selling, not actually ninja, but the course, Bob Parks, who I was at Parks for a while, he brought it into our real estate company. And one of the best weeks in sales I've ever done is doing the ninja class. And one of the things that you mentioned that kind of prompted that was everybody around me is a lead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before they even know it. So some of my friends, they have a baby, and I know before they, have the baby that they're going to grow out of their house, and that's one of the things, like you mentioned, is sitting down with someone and saying, hey, you got some life changes. You need a bigger home, or the kids are going to college, you need to downsize. And I think bringing in the knowledge and of the market and investment properties, all that stuff,
Yep.
Knowing your client, what your client needs before they do, I think is kind of like a huge thing. But that's happened, and it was because of Ninja, like putting it out there, like, hey, you have your first kid, why don't you get an investment property to pay for college? So let's look at that. Let's look at a $200,000 house. And it's crazy. During that class, it's funny. This gentleman told a story. He said, hey, raise your hand if you've got kids in college. And one of them raised his hand. He's got one kid at North Carolina and one at Pepperdine, and they're twins. And he said, how much is that college for both kids? He said, 400 grand. And he said, well, how did you pay for that? He said, well, I saved up 200 grand and my kids got a loan for the rest of it. He said, okay, where were you 18 years ago when those kids were born? And he said, I was in Nolensville, Tennessee. And he said, did you have 40 grand back then? And he said, of course. He goes, what if you would have bought a house when they were born and make it a rental property for 200 grand? And what would the house be worth now? And he's like, probably $300,000 or $400,000. He goes, all right, so that kid graduates high school and you hand over the deed to that house. How much is that house worth? He said, right around 400 grand. How much did you pay for it? He said, 40 grand. He goes, so you just went paying for college because of a real estate investment. And that blew my mind. I mean, everybody in the crowd was like, it made sense, right? So we try to save money for college and all that stuff. It's like, why not get an investment property in your kid's name?
Yeah, no,
Something like
I
that.
totally buy into that, and it is what I like. Two things. I liked what you said about putting it out there, and that's
Yeah.
why we do these live shows and we do things like that, is because we need to continuously be talking about stuff like this so we can break it down in long form content, and then we can pull stuff like this out, Scott, for you, for micro content, because
Yeah.
people need to hear it over and over and over again. I mean, that story about 18 years ago. I mean, I didn't do that, and I was in the mortgage business
Right.
25 years ago, and we bought stuff and we bought investment properties and all those kind of things. But I wasn't thinking like, okay, I could do that for. I have two kids. One's going to go, which is not too far from Pepperdine. One's going to go to Loyola Marymount University,
Yeah.
right? And LA and play beach volleyball and all that kind of stuff. So, the home prices there are definitely a little bit different than 40,000 or 400,000 for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
so we may be looking at something different, but yeah, I didn't think about that. When she was born 18 years ago, and so even for people like us who are in the industry talking about it all the time, um, if we can't think about it, it's our job and responsibility, I think, to talk about it more to help those that aren't in our industries to go, oh yeah, you know what? I heard these crazy guys talking about this stuff. You know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. We should go ahead and do it.
Right. Yeah. Put it in
So
action is another thing. Yeah.
yeah. So the conversation then putting in action is huge. So I don't know, man. I love that part. Now there's something else that you talked about, which obviously piqued my interest because you said baseball.
Yeah.
You played baseball, so I did as well.
Yeah.
So we're obviously not two former Major League Baseball players, or we probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing this. But we did have some baseball. So you
Right.
played a little college ball.
Played college ball. I went to Liberty University for a year and a half, which they just had a good run. It was fun to watch. Transferred to Malone, and it's funny. One of my business partners played at Rice, and he played for the Nationals for I believe 8
Oh
years.
wow. Okay.
But I think I told you this at lunch. It was funny. After my freshman year of college, um, I batted fifth, and Nick Swisher, who ended up playing for the Yankees, and
Yeah.
he was in Moneyball with the A's. He batted fourth on our team, and I remember the first game I played with him. I went home to my parents and said, I don't think I'm good enough to play at the next level because that guy is unbelievable, and I'm not that good. And so I was hit 330, hit 4 or 5 home runs a year was good enough. But when I realized, okay, that's what it's going to take to be in the big leagues, there's no chance. It was a humble and awakening, but my dreams were pretty much squashed when I watched the guy hit right and left-handed
Oh
bombs.
yeah.
Just it's a different. He was blessed with so much ability, but yeah, I love it. I still, being from Cleveland, I was a huge Indians fan and
Uh,
grew up watching those teams with Albert Bell, and before the strike, we had like the best team ever, and then lost to the Marlins. But yeah, I love baseball. I understood it at a young age,
yeah.
and it was one of those things that it was weird. I don't know if it was like that for you. I just got it. Like I don't
Yeah.
get soccer. I don't get a lot of sports, but it was one of those things where I just got it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. I kind of realized at the same time that while I played, and I was actually pretty good, from a average ball player. I mean, I
yeah,
had a great bat, a great arm, but I had average speed. So in baseball, that didn't work out too well when you played the
yeah.
outfield. They said you should have played catcher or something like that. And I'm
That's
like,
what I
what?
was. They put me behind the dish, so my
Okay.
speed my
Yeah.
speed didn't matter. And the great thing was in college, because it was NAIA, when I got on base for catchers, they did courtesy runners for the catchers, so no one knew my speed or lack thereof. So
Okay.
I was able to hide that. But
you, you're able to hide. Well, I made the comment to scouts, hey man, when you hit it as far as I do, you don't have to run
you don't
fast.
have to run. Yeah,
And they're like, we're not worried about your hitting. It's going to be around the bases, man. You
yeah.
you can't track down those balls in the outfield on AstroTurf. I'm like, oh man, come on.
You're right. You're right. You're totally right.
Yeah, but it
That's
it
funny.
uh, it it taught us. I'm sure it taught you a lot as well. I don't know about you. I'm sure there's some similarities here. We can talk about that. But sports taught me. Man, it taught me so much, and it's stuff that I actually use today in business.
Yeah.
And I did go to college and marketing management finance background in college and everything, and I'm not dishing colleges or anything like that or the education you get. I just think there's something to be said for especially entrepreneurs, but
Right.
for people in business that have played a
Yeah.
sport, because it teaches you how to handle success. It teaches you how to be humble when you're having to take a couple of steps back, and
Right.
you haven't been there before. It teaches you how to fail forward, because you're not going to be 100% successful every single time. And baseball, you don't have to hit 1,000 to be considered some of the greats,
Right.
right?
They
You
fail seven
won't,
out of
right?
10 times and they're in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're hitting 300, man. I mean,
Yeah.
that's that to some would seem like
A failure.
you failure, but the reality is that it's not. And you learn what you didn't do right those 7 times to create the right those 3 times.
Yeah.
And it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it, man. I don't know about you.
Oh, I love it. So it's funny. My college baseball coach at Malone, Tom Crank, he was the assistant my senior year. He owned a mortgage company, and he hired all of us in the summers to work for him. And so I was cold back in 2002, 2003. You were allowed to just
Yeah.
cold call, and the rates were so low. We were shooting fish in a barrel, getting deals done. But he taught me a lot, and honestly, I think even my Knabe home team, if you look at the logo, it's a home plate with the KHT, and I hire guys from athletes. I think to be a team.
Hmm.
How like exactly what you said. Like when I was a manager in music, my name wasn't on the marquee, and I was a behind the scenes guy all the time. And it's not that you have to humble yourself. It's just you're in a servant business.
Yeah.
And I think any business we're in, we got to be customer, you know, serving them. And that's what I try to preach. In baseball, I'm only up once every nine at bats or nine people, and I got to depend on a lot of people. And as a catcher too, I love to be the quarterback and see everything, but
Yep.
being a team player in any business, and I know one of my buddies that works at Stryker, and they do implants, in the medical field. They only hire former athletes
Oh, wow.
because,
Okay.
yeah, it's like, you know, if you can be a team player, and that's the kind of people I want to be around. So it's kind of
Yeah, I mean, and I think they already, they're walking into an environment where the the employer, or in their mindset as far as the individual, I already know what it's gonna take to succeed.
right,
Obviously, we got to put in the work. You got to have great people around you. You got to listen. You got to be a student of the game,
right.
and then you have to go out and like execute. I mean, you can't wait on other people. You have to consistently do the things that you need to do. And so, like, even for us, like, I love the fact that it's a home plate, but I love with your logo and everything. But like with us, we take sports and we play games with it, right? Like, okay, how many calls do you have to make? How many conversations do you have to have? How many conversations lead to conversions? And then we kind of play games like that, because I think that also allows us to celebrate our little wins
Yeah,
every day, and then ultimately look up and say it's like a baseball season, right? You have 82 games, then you have, well, now you don't, but I mean we
right.
we eventually will. You have all
Yeah,
these games, then you have the playoffs, then you have the World Series, and that's kind of what we lead up to, the World Series being the end of the year goal for numbers and things like that. And but the daily wins are important, because as athletes, we need to celebrate those daily wins, and we also need to look at the things we have to improve on. So if we fell short one day, the great thing is we can get up and do it again the next day, and then come out a little bit better. So
yeah. And I think too, to echo that, it's one of my coaches said the best ability is availability, and
oh,
a lot of times, you know,
I like that.
in this business, if you're not available, it doesn't matter how good you are. And the
Yeah.
same thing, you play hurt sometimes, you got to get, like you said, you got to get in the game. So,
There's a quote, which I love that one, but we talk about it. It's a Ted Lasso quote, okay?
okay.
And one of the things about baseball, football, basketball players, we all, I mean, if you're really at that level, and I mean, obviously we had it at some point at our level, but those professionals definitely have it at another level. They're able to forget, right?
Yeah.
They're able to remove, like, the let's say the challenge that they didn't accomplish. They're able to remove that quickly and move forward, and then maybe accomplish it the next time. So there's a quote by Ted Lasso. It's be a goldfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the goldfish is just basically a representation of having a really bad memory. Like,
Right.
just put it away, put it aside, and then let's go focus on today or what is in present in front of you. So, it's not saying that you don't learn from it. It's
Right.
just saying don't bring it forward and have it disrupt what you're doing right now. Don't have it impact negatively the next conversation you're about to have,
Right.
or the next conversation about how to positively impact that person, because if the other person didn't get it, that shouldn't impact this person. And
Totally.
so be a goldfish, right?
Yeah.
Just forget about it.
It's funny because that's kind of like, now I golf. Like, golf is my thing, and I have to remind myself, don't let that bad shot affect the next shot.
So we're doing that every time, right, Scott?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
I
okay,
know.
well, that swing's not
Well,
going to work. Let's
yeah.
move on.
I just wish it was better to start. But you're right. It's like, don't let failures or something affect your future. So I'm all about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely a scratch golfer on hole number one.
On hole number one,
Yeah, oh, tee box number one.
T-box.
Unless you go hole
Yeah.
number one.
Well, I
Walking
don't
up
know.
to that tee box, I'm looking pretty tight, man. They're
Yeah.
like, wow, this guy's pretty
It's
good.
good. He's got Pumas on and everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's funny because I always joke about, like, sometimes on the range you hit so well. It was the same way in baseball. Sometimes in batting practice, I would just be, the ball felt like a watermelon, and then you get out there and you're like, where was that guy that was, it was 20 minutes ago, so it's so funny.
Yeah.
But we can
No, I
talk
love
about
that.
baseball forever, but yeah.
Oh no, man, I love that, and there's some good things there. I mean, whether that's for our buyers or it's for other people. I mean, just the sports and businesses is something that we take into our world, and that should also help them, because I know we're also very competitive.
Yeah.
And one of the other things is, I think it's a quote from Moneyball. I hate losing more than I like winning.
Yeah.
Right. And I really do. I mean, winning, it's just what I expect. So it's like, okay,
You're
next up.
exactly right.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to lose something, I mean,
Yeah.
I hate it, and I need to understand why, and it just eats at me. So those are things that if we channel that correctly, we can help our clients win deals in this market, especially. Yeah, I know you don't want to lose.
Right. Yeah. I realize that I'm a poker player too, and the high of winning sometimes isn't as big as the low of losing. Like the way it feels,
Yeah.
and you got to channel that, obviously. But I hate losing too. I mean, it's the worst feeling. Even if we're betting on the golf course, I want to win. So it might not have the ability to be that good, but shoot, we'll bet on it.
I like it.
Yeah. No. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
Well, cool. Well, I mean, tell me a little bit about the market right there. I mean, I know it's tight. I know you guys have some buyers and sellers. I mean, what are you guys looking for right now to really, I guess, change there in the Tennessee market? Are you expecting inventory to open up? Just kind of what are you seeing? So both for our audiences, because I got a lot of people. Obviously I'm in Dallas, but I work all over. Work in Tennessee, presence there and everything. So I have buyers that want to buy investment properties. What are you seeing? What are you telling people?
So I'm obviously, we've got very low inventory with the amount of buyers. I think it's like 12-1 right now, which is a crazy number. But I am hoping that there's a little bit of a level off. I don't think this can continue and sustain, but I don't see I hate to say crash. I don't see that happening. I don't see what we saw in 07, 08. I don't see that happening, but I do think there needs to be kind of a more level playing field. That's the unfortunate thing. We've got so many buyers that are pre-approved, 20% down, looking at that $1 million to $2 million price point, and we get in there and there's 26 offers that are cash, no contingencies. And a lot of these people are moving from California, New York, Chicago, and they're they've got the money to do that. And it's unfortunate for people here that have kind of what we talked about, done the steps of buying 150, then 250, and working their way up. So that's unfortunate. And a lot of people say, oh, Scott, you must be loving it, this market's crazy. And it's like, well, it's the hardest I've ever worked in it, because in the past we'd be able to, get it the first deal or second deal, but now we're showing houses, 20, 30 times. And, even day of, texting the agent, we want to buy this. And they're like, well, get in line. There's, 30 offers. And so we actually lost one in Brentwood. We went 50 grand over on $1 million house, and we lost it by $270,000. And so, like you talked about earlier, I want to encourage them that it's not them, it's not their fault. It's just the way the market is. And a lot of people really want to live in Nashville. It's a great place to raise a family and all that stuff. But I do hope for a little bit of a level off, just so that we can, get some profits that people are making are just insane right now. But obviously I like that part too. But the market's just really hot, and that's kind of why we started building too, because we've realized if we've got, we're the pretty girl on the street, that everybody's looking at if you've got inventory. So, but yeah, I think just like tempering, emotions of buyers and just, this is a marathon, it's gonna take a while, but like you said earlier, we'll find the right one. But yeah, the market's just been crazy. It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, and to speak on that just a little bit, I agree, and I don't necessarily see a crash either coming. It's not 07, 08. We don't have the profiles that we had then today. I mean, our credit profiles are much better. Underwriting guidelines are a lot more, let's say, tighter than where they were in 07 and 08. So we're not loosely lending money, and we're documenting one's ability to repay a lot better. So it's not going to be because of that we have houses come back on the market. What we're going to see, I think, and I know the banks are going to do everything they can to keep people in their homes. There's a lot of people still, parents are out of it. Start to see a big hit of that next year. I don't. The banks are going to do what they can because they don't want these homes to go into foreclosure. It's going to cost them way too much money. But the reality is there's going to be some. There's going to be a good amount of homes that people are just like, there's nothing I can do. I can't pay. And so those are going to get foreclosed on. And that is going to, in all of our markets, that's going to open up some inventory, unfortunately for them, but it is what it is. And, that's going to put some homes back on the market, and that's going to help some buyers with the inventory challenges that they're having now. So I think that that's something to, I guess, look forward to.
One other thing that I think has kind of added to that, and I didn't think about this, but it's crazy when you think about it. But in Nashville, especially, people aren't getting transferred right now because of jobs and people working from home. So even so you think about the natural progression of people moving out. If you're not getting transferred and you work from home, that's a big percentage. I didn't even think about that in the market, and it's all markets, but someone can work out of New York, but they're in Nashville, just like you and I are talking right now. So 100%. I think that's a big key too. When we like you said with Austin, I've seen it a lot. Dallas, people want to live there, and people are coming out of other states. People aren't wanting to leave Nashville.
No, it's changed. I mean, this whole thing, while I think it has been great for people to be able to stay home and work from home and all that kind of stuff, it has definitely, exactly what you said, impacted whether they're having to leave the state. So like we had people leave Tennessee to come to Texas because they got transferred and this is where their job is. Now they can stay there and live there and work with the company in Austin or Dallas, right? I mean, and while that's great, it has affected inventory definitely. I can understand what you're saying there completely. The other thing is, I mean, we'll start to see interest rates. I mean, right now we also helped create this inventory challenge as lending, because with interest rates so low, we did a lot of refis. Well, they're locked in a 2% rate or whatever. They're not really wanting to get out of that. They don't want to sell that house. They don't. I mean, what are they going to do when the rates start to rise? So they're going to stay put possibly a little bit longer
So it's
than
your
what they
fault.
would have.
So it's your fault.
It's always lending fault, right? It always
It's not
comes
my
back to the
fault.
lenders.
It's on you. Yeah.
Always comes back to the lenders.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that's part of it as well. We've talked to enough people where they're like, yeah, I mean, we cut our payment and, $200, $300, $400, whatever that number is, right? They cut it by a significant amount and they don't want to get out of that because they can stay in the
Totally
house,
makes sense.
4 or 5 years more and save, $10,000 more in interest. So I think that's part of what's going to create a little bit longer stay for people than the normal average stays in homes.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, a lot of stuff's going on, man. A lot of stuff, Scott. But
Yeah.
I appreciate you jumping on and just chatting with me about just your history, the past, why you got into real estate. I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. We share some similar stories, but
Yeah.
ultimately what you've done and what you've built there is pretty special. You have a great team. You're impacting a lot of people's lives. You're building homes and creating things in that community that have lasting effects. So cheers to you, brother. That's pretty awesome, man.
Thanks. We count our blessings. We're super blessed. My wife and I, great family, great neighbors, great friends, and yeah, I just super blessed to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. So I'm assuming was your brother a bald rock star, or did he actually have long
No,
hair? Where did it go with you?
it's so crazy. God gave us a great head of hair, and he got all of it. So, but yeah, he is. It's funny because I can't play guitar, I can't sing, I can't do any of that stuff, and he got all those abilities. But I could hit a baseball. I guess that was the. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
he was
That's
on stage.
awesome.
They didn't want this face on stage, so I'd be behind the scenes. But yeah,
All right, brother. Well, man, I look forward to seeing you here pretty soon. I'll be up
yeah,
in Nashville soon. We'll go catch. We'll go grab a drink or get some food or
yeah.
whatever.
Maybe go
But
to a Sounds game or something. We go to a baseball game or go golf, whatever you want to do.
absolutely, brother. Well, cheers. I know Brandon's going to throw up all the digits and all that kind of stuff before we head out of here, and we'll talk with you soon. All right, take care.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Bob.
See you, Scott.
See ya.